Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sippin Selling
with Joey Chanel. Welcome back to another episode of Sippin Selling. Today, I have a brother and sister duo for my guests. Their names are Kara and Bryce Morrison. Welcome to the show, Kara and Bryce.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
I see Ben's loving this because I got it.
Nailed it.
Kara and Bryce are here from Mom and Dad Water, a brand that has revolutionized the RTD category and taken us by storm. For those of you out there that haven't heard or tried or seen Mom or Dad Water, you're probably under a rock, but that's okay because that's what my job is. It's to explain and tell and share all these cool stories about everybody in the industry that may or may not know about these brands. I'm really excited to talk about Mom Water because it's one of the first products that came into the market post-COVID that was non-carbonated. So, Kara and Bryce, like I mentioned, you guys are siblings. I think that's the part that we need to talk about first because it is a little bit taboo to work with your family. I personally work with my dad, and it's interesting, and there's daily challenges. So I'd love to hear about how you guys got into business together.
Well, that's Bryce's fault. Bryce, you get to tell the story.
Yeah, it's true. Well, once we actually made the leap of faith and decided, okay, let's do this thing. We have a partner, John, and it was just kind of Jill, myself, and John, and it was mostly just me in the background doing stuff to get it all started. And we were like, we're gonna need resources, we're gonna need people, and John basically said, if we want to grow this thing, we probably need you guys probably like Jill and I need to look at quitting your jobs, which we did, and we started hiring. And so the first kind of one for me was like everybody had said don't do business with family and friends, but at the same time, I think we're a little different and we're close knit. And it was funny because Kara and I like we lead different lives, and we'd see each other, but we didn't really talk on like a very consistent basis. Like we have our own circle of friends and our families and everything else, and we'd always talk, but not just like all the time. And so we ended up hiring Kara part-time to start because we really didn't know how this thing was going to go. Quickly turned into full-time, and we always joke like there's Kara and myself, and then we also have a brother. He's the middle child, which his name is Josh, and he works for us too. He's a regional VP. And like I talked to Josh a lot, hadn't talked to Kara as much because Josh and I at least mountain bike together. So, we talk every once in a while. But when Kara came on board, like Josh is more, I'll say Josh is more left brain,
Okay.
organized, everything else. I'm very right brain, very, very right brain. So I'm like creative, innovative, not organized at all.
You
So
sound like my sister. That's my sister's role.
Yeah. But I at least realized that. And so Kara kind of got the best of both of us. And so it just made sense. And, I involved John heavily into it. I said, hey, you got to be on board with this. And he did. And he realized right away, made sense. So Kara came on, she was our first employee. And, she would basically do everything. She got a hold of QuickBooks after I did, which it looked like a kindergartner or a toddler had got a hold of QuickBooks
That's
when
true.
it was me.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was bad, 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 bad. And so she was just kind of doing everything. And as time evolved, I don't know if it was maybe about a year or so, Kara, something like that. I was like, listen, like Jill and I's job in this industry, we try to build relationships and we try to get out and be very consumer facing, very retail facing, very distributor facing. And because it helps. Like there's not a lot of companies where there's a face to the company, if you will. So as we were doing more and more of that, and also knowing what my shortcomings are, it just made sense to transition the CEO title to Kara. And it was, it's the best decision that we've made. So yeah, that's kind of how everything got started, I guess you could say.
I love
But
that.
I love
What's
it.
the age difference between you guys?
Was it
I think,
7?
yeah, 6 or 7 years. Josh is in the middle. I'm the baby. But, it's funny because I think we know where that line is and we know what's like sacred, like our family relationship will always be first. And I think we just kind of figured it out early on, like how you navigate. And I agree with Bryce. We're closer than we ever have been, and we can have tough conversations and be really honest with each other. And we both know that it's coming from a good place. So we've really never had a struggle with it. Obviously, thankful for that, but it's worked really well. And I think it also kind of fits the fact that we're like mom and dad water, like we have family is part of our identity, and we have other family that are involved. Jill's brother's our COO. John's son, Naylan, is a RVP for us. And so it's just kind of something we're really comfortable with.
I love that. And we keep referencing this famous Jill. I know who she is. She's Bryce's wife. But for those of you that don't know, she is, I guess, the mom behind the Mom Water. Let's tell the story for the listeners out there that don't know the story of Mom Water. It's a really funny one.
Yeah, sure. And Jill usually she's just not on podcasts a whole lot. She is I got the talkative gene. Jill's not much so. So the concept actually started in the Dominican Republic in 2018. And so when we were, you get to one of these all-inclusive resorts, and the first thing they do is they hand you these big, nice, flavorful, sugary drinks.
Hmm.
And then day one, you drink too much of them, and then day two, you wake up and wish that you didn't. So Jill found herself hydrating with this water that she kept finding around these stations around the resort, and it was fruit infused water. It happened to be passion fruit. She never really had passion fruit water. And so she kind of fell in love with this water, this passion fruit infused water. It got to the point to where she would fill her cup up. She would go up to the bar and say, "Can you just add like some vodka? I don't want to taste it, but I still want to like drink, but I don't want to stop drinking this water." And she wanted to see like if it worked. And sure enough, it did. And she quickly found out that she wasn't getting bloated throughout the day. She could drink a lot of them in the hot sun. And the next morning she'd wake up and she felt good. She's like, it feels like a drinking hack. It's like I can drink and socialize and have fun, but I don't have all the negative bloat and all the stuff that comes with it. So fast forward a few months, we get home. We had just put in a pool like prior year. So everybody tended to kind of get around our pool. And this was 2018, keep in mind, which is exactly the year that seltzers had blown up. So Jill and all of her friends they were trying, I think, every single seltzer on the market. So every weekend, some new seltzer would be at our pool. And they all would drink them, but they kind of noticed, Jill kind of started noticing the same thing. She's like, man, I'm just really bloated at the end of the day.
Hmm.
So she looked at me, she was like, how do we make that thing I was drinking down in the Dominican? I was like, well, I'll just go get some flavored vodka. So I went and got some passion fruit flavored vodka, brought it home, and she started taking these little Dasani water bottles. She'd take a little drink out of it and she'd replace it with some of this flavored vodka. And that kind of became her go-to. And so then her friends would notice, they're like, well, you're not drinking seltzers anymore. Like, and we know you're not drinking water. So what are you drinking? And she kind of told them. And so they were like, well, that's interesting. So they tried it. And so everybody kind of started liking these flavored waters with vodka in them around our house. Um, the problem with that is, as a family, we drink pretty much nothing but water. We don't drink soda. We don't drink a lot of anything. We drink water. And we do have three kids. And at the time, they were probably between the ages of like 6 and 13 or something like that. And inevitably, one of the kids would accidentally grab one of these Dasanis and thinking it's a regular one, and they
Hmm.
take a little drink and think something's wrong with the water. And they're like, spit it out, like, Mom, something's bad.
Right.
He's like, no, those are mine. And so I said, Jill, you have to do something to where these, because they were everywhere. I kind of jokingly call them little landmines that you never know. You just be like, pop one open. What is it? So she started scribbling mom on all of her water bottles. And all of her friends coined the term, it was Jill's mom water.
Hmm.
And so that was kind of how the name mom water came about, is that's what all of her friends would call these little things she was making. And so Jill was the first one. She came to me and she said, we should do this because my friends all like it. I like it. It has all these positive benefits. I can't find it anywhere on the market, and they're kind of a pain to make. You had to buy water and marker and mark them and all this stuff. She's like, and we could even call it mom water. That's what my friends are calling it. And I was like, that all sounds great, but there's no way. Like it felt like such a unattainable goal
Hmm.
that I just kind of blew it off to a degree.
Okay.
And it took her almost a year, I think, to finally convince me. And it was funny because it was one day coming back from the golf course. Some of my buddies, like one of the moms, picked us up from the golf course. And on the way back, she just said something about Jill's mom water. And when she said it, and it might have been, because I'd been drinking mom water that day, I don't know, but it just hit my ears different. And I could instantly go, I can actually see that being something on a shelf. Like it just makes sense. It sounds really good. I'm like, I came home and I said, you know what? I'll give it let's see what we can figure out.
I love that. I mean, the origin story is hilarious to me. You know, of course, the kids getting involved in that mess. I've
Yeah.
got plenty of stories like that growing up in the liquor business where I was definitely thinking I was drinking something, even if it wasn't alcoholic. In the cooler, there was like tonic water, and I was like, gross, you know? So that's funny and relatable. And so I'm assuming then the first flavor you guys decided to can was going to be passion fruit based, or what was the first flavor? And let's talk about that a little bit, Kara, since your brother is the talker over here. Let's give you a chance to shine. Do you know the story of the flavor origins?
Yeah, I think, passion fruit was the obvious that they wanted to introduce because it was the OG, it was what inspired everything. But then I think they really started playing with the idea of putting together fruit combinations that were maybe a little bit unique and different. And so I also distinctly remember during all of this, them telling our family that they were going to go down this road and, putting on my little sister hat. Like, we were scared for them. I mean, they were really successful doing what they were doing. They were both in healthcare, and it was a big thing to think about with three kids and a home and all your responsibilities. Like, all of a sudden, starting this business that we knew was going to be really really difficult in the industry, and none of us knew anything about the industry. And so in the middle of all of that, they would start talking about like flavor combinations that they thought about. I can remember talking about the branding and how they had this idea. Bryce is like, we should put names on the cans. And like, we all were like, oh, wow, that would be really, that'd be really different. Nobody else is doing that. And so I definitely remember Bryce has always been a fan of blueberries. Jill is a huge fan of blueberries. And so the introductory pack had two different combinations with blueberry, which I definitely think is unusual. Probably not something that like a market research company would tell you to do, but it worked for us because they were tasty and different and just really unique compared to everything else that was out there that was a little bit more mainstream in flavor.
Love that. Yes. So the names, again, listeners, I know if you're just listening on Spotify or Apple, you can't see, but just see it with your eyes visually. Each can has a different name. The names, I'm going to hear why you guys picked them, but I'm assuming that it was because they were common, but maybe not. Maybe they're people in your life and they were helpful with coming up with this concept and you wanted to honor them. I don't know the story of the names. So let's talk about them. Some of them are, we have Karen, which is, later on that became amazing for you, I'm sure. We have Carol, we have Sandy, Linda, and is this Julie and Susan and Nancy, which I have an Aunt Nancy, so she's a fan of that flavor. But yeah, let's talk about the names, guys. Super fun.
Yeah, so the names, it's funny. The first four, we really didn't put a lot of thought into it. Like, we were not thinking big time on this whole thing. So the Linda was after a YouTube video, like you've probably seen it,
Yes.
where this boy is
Linda,
pleading with his
Linda,
mom.
Linda. Yeah, the little
Yeah.
boy.
That's
Yeah.
that one. We just happened to be watching it. I'm like, that is the perfect mom moment. Like, Linda makes sense. And Karen, we actually picked just totally random before that meme. We picked that. If you think at the time that meme blew up during COVID,
Right.
we started this just before. We were legit like out of money and we'd already picked Karen. We had the labels created. And when this meme started blowing up, we're like, well, I guess we're rolling with it. So maybe it'd be good. So those first one, the only one that had any meaning on the first ones was Julie. And Jill refused to let me put a name on a can, her name, Jill.
Mhm.
So Julie is kind of a fun little alter ego that our kids coined. Like when we were on vacation, she'd get in like travel mode and here's the itinerary and here's what we're doing. Or maybe when she's had a few mom waters. And so Julie became her alter ego. So it's a fun little Easter egg. We put Julie on there. Now, the next flavors that came out, which were Susan and Nancy, we actually had our community on social vote, and those it kind of went along. Like we tried to pick somewhat popular names just because it's fun and everybody can kind of associate it with them. So they picked those two, and then the most recent pack that came out was actually a lot of our moms. So Mary is our partner John's mom. Carol is John's wife Bobby. It's her mom. Kathy is our mom. And then Louise, which is actually in a 4 pack, it's a cucumber one, is Jill's mom. So we had a little bit of like we wanted to add some of the family ties to it, a little personal
Yeah.
touch to it.
Absolutely. Gave me goosebumps. My mom's name was Kathy too. My husband's mom's name was Carol. So I love that. So fun. And I'm sure that you guys got a lot of feedback about it with people posting and tagging and loving the names that you chose. I know about the story about TikTok. Can you share that story as well? The moment that made you guys go viral?
Oh my gosh. We were Maybe I was in about 6 months at the time. We had just hired our first marketing team members. We hired two, and that was one of their first projects. Was we're going to start a TikTok and get it out there. And I mean, to be honest, Bryce and I didn't know anything about TikTok at the time, and so we really relied on them. And they started it in December, and a month later, we went viral off of a video. I think the gal was from Northern Indiana, and she like kind of acted out the personalities, I guess is the best way to put it. It was really funny and it just went crazy. And so all of a sudden the next morning we woke up to like over 1,000 emails in our like info box from the website. We also, I think at the time, had Bryce's cell phone number as our like official company number, and it was posted on our website. I mean, it was
Ouch.
just things that we did not think about
Yeah.
when all of a sudden you had this like moment of attention that happened, which was awesome. I mean, we rolled with it, but yeah, we were not prepared for that.
Wow.
No, I think I responded to like around 1,000 emails in a matter of days, like 2 or 3. Because I back then, like, if somebody is taking their time to email us about this
Mhm.
product, I like they're getting a response. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I responded to every single one of them.
I
So
love
it was
that.
a lot.
That's important as a brand owner. And obviously, when you're starting a company and a business, you appreciate the first sale. And that was 6 months in. So at the time you guys were packaged, you had at least the first two flavors going. What was the next steps in your process? Like you said, you guys didn't come from the industry. Kara, I'm guessing you didn't either. So how did you figure out what to do from concept to can? And then did you go DTC? What was the method?
So it was hilarious when we say we anybody can do it if we can. I mean, it's the truth because when we started the project, when it was just Jill and I didn't even realize that you had to have a distributor. Like
Okay.
I assumed you could sell it yourself. So we actually kicked off the project. We have a great partner in Flavor Man out of Louisville, Kentucky, that helped us with the actual formulation and the beverage formulation. And we kicked that project off before we even knew we needed a distributor. So we did the project. Then after that, I found out about distributors, networked a little bit, found a person here locally in Indiana, got connected with a distributor, pitched it to them. They said, "Well, it's during COVID, so if you could go pre-sell some, then we'll pick it up." So I did that. Would go to a lot of liquor stores and just get them to pick it up. Once we did that, honestly, the biggest issue for us was actually finding a manufacturer because there's usually two types. There's the ones that are really small, that have low minimum order quantities, which is what we were looking for, or you've got the massive ones that we couldn't afford.
Right.
Uh, the problem with the small ones is, again, if you think during COVID, what every one of them shut down, and they were making hand sanitizer. They weren't bringing on new products that summer. They were laying off people making hand sanitizer. So we just kind of fumbled our way through. We again a lot of networking, and eventually found a mobile packing line that could actually show up at a facility. And we canned our first beverages up at Mommy Bay Brewing Company in Toledo, Ohio, and with a mobile canning line that would show up, set up shop for a few days, run our order, and then they'd be out.
Wow. Okay, so that was the first order. Then
Yes,
you heard about these distributors. Did they
yeah.
come knocking after that viral moment, or did you start going, door to door and try to find them? You guys were in a, you're probably a great hub for drinkers and people that were looking for this type of product. But did you start in your own home state, or did you cast a wide net? What'd you do?
So we
The
opened in Indiana to start, and then Kentucky, like a month after.
So do
Crazy.
you launch with RNDC?
Yeah, so the viral moment really didn't happen until about 8 or 9 months into the market. So they launched in Indiana, Kentucky, March of 21, April of 21. Bryce and Jill were still working their full-time jobs for most of that year. I came on board fall of 21 when John came on as a partner. And then our distribution, then we launched a bunch of states with RNDC kind of starting in spring of 22. And January was when that viral moment happened. So we really already kind of had the path to distribution before we all of a sudden were this hot viral thing, which obviously they loved. And then we also launched with like the AB network in Ohio. That was one of our first states, and it became our biggest almost overnight. And so, yeah, I mean, we had momentum to start. I think it was just people going in a liquor store and seeing it on the shelves, and it was captivating. I mean, their first orders in Indiana, Kentucky sold out in a matter of hours, and that had nothing to do with social media or TikTok or anything for almost a year.
Wow. That's wild. I mean, yes, like you said, Bryce, these stories don't happen. And I love that you're saying if I could do it, then anybody can. I love that mentality. I tell everybody who's listening on my show when I'm on certain episodes that it makes sense to say. It's like if you have an idea that you feel compelled could be potentially something big in this world, why wouldn't you just give it a shot? I understand it sounds like, and I could be wrong, it sounds like you guys self funded. So there is that worry, and I get that. And then you have to, ask your friends and family and all of those things. And it doesn't have to be in the spirits category, but if you feel like there's a void for something, I always say it's kind of your duty to figure out how to get it there. Your wife was looking for something that she saw a white space for and she went for it. And I think that's very compelling and I think that's very cool. And we have one life to live. We might as well just do that, right? And what an inspirational story to pass down to your families. And I love that you're including your mothers in your world now in this project too, because it is really nice to bring everybody along for the ride. So I think that's really special.
Yeah, I think like our biggest thing is being very genuine and authentic. We want that to come through, whether it's social media or just meeting folks, getting out, working a booth, whatever the case is. I think in a world of social media where everything is perfectly manicured and perfectly said, and I think people yearn for the imperfection or a little bit of authenticity. So that's what we do. Like if Jill and I are doing videos and sending them to distributors or whatever, it's like we kind of have a funny like one take rule. Like if you screwed up, you screwed up. It's just fun. People want to see that. Like if you're watching SNL or whatever, the most funny ones are when people break character and
Yeah, and
and
they're
when
laughing.
it's not perfect.
I agree. I was making that joke with you guys in the beginning that I have this like
Yeah.
nervous tick whenever I say see people's intros or their names, especially if like I haven't actually met you, which happens a lot on this show. I'll book guests and I don't really know how to say their last name, and I'll have Ben try to ask, and still sometimes I mess it up. So I appreciate you guys matching that energy and thinking that it's valuable and fun and it's authentic, and it's nice to not be perfect all the time. Um, well, let's speak a little bit more about Mom Water and the imperfections. I personally think that you guys probably did come out with a couple designs ahead of time. You also then branched into Dad Water, which we will get to, and it has a different can. But did you originally always want to do the slim cans with Mom Water? And did you originally always think you were going to do this like pastel matte color for the cans? And was everything really thought out, or was it a collective effort? Was there trial and error? Tell us everything about it.
Yeah, again, not a lot was super thought out. The skinny can actually the very first thing when we were talking about it is like, should we do these in plastic water bottles?
Right.
Because that's what we knew. And you know, in hindsight, thank God we didn't do that because, we were trying to be cleaner. We're like, well, you got recycling, which is good, aluminum. Um, you could find more people to manufacture aluminum, which was good. And at the end of the day, I was like, I just can't see somebody at a bar saying, here you go, crack this bad boy open, and it's like a bottle of water where you're twisting a cat. It just didn't make sense. So we went with the cans and the skinny cans, yes, because they kind of, when you look at them, it's like cleaner, Michelob Ultra. You've got some of the beers, like all of the light beers, are going to skinny. So we decided to just fit the motif of Mom Water. The the colors, we actually went and we just kind of took pictures of shelves at liquor stores, and we had a designer at the time, kind of a family friend, who was working with, and we were just like, "What is everybody else not doing?" And we noticed there was no pastel colors, and we wanted this to be like very feminine. I mean, it's about a mom. That's why we put the names on the cans. It wasn't to be campy or weird. It was just like, no, this should be a celebration of moms and motherhood. And what better way to do that than to have a name with every can? And if you notice next to the name, there's three little descriptive words to kind of describe a fun mom personality on each one. So, we looked at it, went, I think pastel, like these light, airy colors would be really good. The gold tops, we wanted to feel premium.
Mhm.
So we started with silver because we couldn't afford gold tops, but eventually we're like, we'd love to have gold tops because if you're paying money for, a liquor based ready to drink, we want you to feel like that you have paid for something that is premium. And we just so a lot of those little details, the actual logo was legitimately I doodled it on a napkin, and Kara joked it looked more like a Demogorgon from Stranger Things than it did a palm tree. Uh, and I can't deny that. But it was mostly like, hey, I just doodled it, sent it to the designer. He's like, I like that. Let me see what I can do. And the very first thing he sent back, legit, is the logo. Like
That's
we didn't change
amazing.
it at all.
That never happens. The
I know.
circle's a flower. Is that what the circle is for
It's
It's a
mom?
a
sun.
sun.
It's a sun? Okay.
Yep. It's a sun above a palm tree.
I love it. It's beautiful, guys. I didn't notice that about the character traits. See, very thoughtful, carefully, placed ideas that are unique. And again, ahead of the trends. You guys were talking about this in 2021. Right now, this is what I'm talking about on the show. And what I'm seeing come across my desk is people are like, fatigued with the carbonation or over it and they just don't like it, and now they're having to come out with other expressions, and you guys are already ahead of that. You're already ahead of the trends with the low ABV and natural ingredients, and you're under 100 calories. I mean, you check a lot of boxes, which is amazing. And at the same time, I'm sure people gave you pushback of it being mom water because you're kind of pigeonholing yourself in theory, right? If you just are trying to target the moms. And then that's probably why you came out with dad water. But was dad water always in the picture, for the future, or no?
No, and I mean, I can remember asking that question when they were in their kind of R&D phase because it was before I was on the team of like, are you sure you want to go down the road of like basically pitching to half the population? But I think the funny thing about that is after a product really got out in the market and we started to see where it was selling, we very early on realized that we were very popular with like young of age guys, like in college towns. And I think we were offering something so sessionable and different. And I also think that they found it hilarious that they would be walking around with cans of like Karen and Linda in their hands. And so, yeah, I mean, even though the branding is super feminine and that's our core demographic, it's who we're shooting for, it's definitely not who defines our audience as a whole. Dad water, though, people would ask when we would go to trade shows or we go to customer facing events, and they're like, well, I mean, we've got mom water, but like, where's dad water? And we kind of blew it off at first, but I think the more that we thought about it, we started thinking about if we were to do something, we didn't want to chip away at mom water's identity. We wanted it to really have its own thing. And so we wanted to try a different spirit base and felt like tequila is a growing market. It's super natural. So that kind of fit, our makeup. And then it just really worked taste wise. I mean, it was so complimentary. And for people that love tequila, I think it's very surprising. And I also think just in general, like to your point about carbonation, the US is not like we're not a sparkling water country. I mean,
Mhm.
it's funny to me that we're coming in after most brands have done carbonation. I think we were the simpler idea. And it sort of surprises me that like we come in after the fact with a still water version that has obviously hit all the boxes for people that are tired of bubbles. But I'm surprised it took this long to get there.
I'm with you. You got, like I said, you guys definitely have a beautiful story, very heroic. It goes on and on through the industry, just so you know whether you know or not. I don't have any brands currently at RNDC, and I've heard about your product. It's been going around just as popular as a lot of the pioneers of the brands that you probably know and love and have on your shelf. I mean, your story is one of the stories that everybody talks about. So own that and be relishing in that because it is special, and I'm happy for you guys. And I'm happy to be able to share my platform to tell your story for those of my listeners that don't know about mom and dad water. Um,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So dad water has a fun little drawing on here, Bryce. Did you create this character?
Yeah, no, I didn't. The group that did, they were a local group. We tried to use as many local resources as we can, and so it was a local group that it was a like a design and print shop, and it was funny because we thought we were going to go with this big company and sit around a boardroom or whatever. And one of the guys in his pitch, he was like, This doesn't feel like a brand that you should do that. It feels like a brand where you should maybe sit around, drink some tequila and whatever." And I was like, You're right. And so the very first meeting we did, they closed their office, we sat on the floor, we drank good tequila, and we just started looking at designs. And you could tell like they were going through different things and they were trying to get a vibe check from us, right? And they got to this one, which we lovingly call Mr. Agave, but this he had to set it up first. The guy was like, "Well, I don't take too much stock in this. Like we're just kind of messing around. Like you can tell he's a little nervous." And he put that up on the screen, and Kara was there too. And I was like, I kind of looked at it, kind of looked at Kara, and we both kind of smiled. It was like we knew at the same time. We're like, "That's great. Like that's perfect." We wanted it to be kind of retro, kind of fun and campy. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like our tagline is legends in their own minds. I mean, that's what
Mhm.
dads are. We
Mhm.
think we're way cooler than we probably are. So this is like it was perfect because we want it to be a little swanky, but also a little goofy. And it just kind of fit.
I love it. Mr. Agave is super chill, super cool. He looks like this. He has a little mustache and some aviators, some agave hair. He's
Yep.
super cool. And so all these cans have different flavor varietals. They are in like a beer can shape for my listeners not watching. And they have silver tops and they have fun dad names like Rodney. And I'm curious, I'm going to ask the same question. Where do the boys' names come from?
Yeah, so by then in Mom Water's journey, we knew that like we were going to do the family connection at some point, and so we just started with that on the Dad Water side. So Gary, Rodney, and Tom are all dads of the owners, and then we felt like Steve, like everybody knows a Steve, so
Hmm.
he was kind of a just a crowd favorite choice. And then the branding was kind of intended to be the opposite of everything we did on Mom Water. So where we did gold tops, we wanted silver tops. Where we did a matte finish, we wanted a gloss finish. We wanted the beer can so that they truly would kind of feel like, the perfect marriage is, opposites track kind of thing. That was kind of the whole idea, is that the two brands would start to play off of each other.
Love that. So let's talk about my bread and butter, the retail space. What was you guys' first chain that you got into? And tell us about that story.
Oh my gosh, Meyer, never forget. So that was like pretty early on, and we had a great contact. He actually ends up being a part of our team now. But he was in Indiana and had great contacts in Meyer and got us pitched. And I can distinctly remember posting on my Facebook at the time our first pallet drops in Meyer stores. It was such a huge deal because up until then, everything was just, small displays in liquor stores, and the Meyer thing just went so big so fast. And then I think just led to our distribution growing. Once we got Meyer, then eventually we got Target. And then, our success in Target then leads to success in Walmart, and we get into Publix. And I mean, it created a snowball to where all of a sudden, like national accounts for us, it's over 50% of our volume. I think Mom and Dad Water just makes sense at that particular space. Like, we're popular where people are going to buy groceries and going to the big box stores, and so that is really our bread and butter too, even though I don't know if we would have necessarily known that at the time.
Love it. Yeah, it makes sense. You guys, like I said, your branding and your name and everything does suit those shelves. I was curious who bit first. Myers makes sense. They are elevated in the grocery store channels, and so is Publix. I'm a Floridian, so we love our Publix over here. So has anybody in that space, Walmart probably, but you don't have to share, has any of them ever asked you guys to do like a private label flavor for them exclusively that maybe you're going to do in the future that you could share, or you turned down?
They have hinted that they would love to like work on something or have exclusives, and it's something that we've explored with different ones. Because for us, we do have kind of a unique marketing avenue, which is we can put different names on cans.
Hmm.
We could do a same flavor, maybe with a different name. Like there's a lot of different combinations that we can do. And so it's not something we've done yet, but it's something that we've kind of explored because as we do have really good partners, whether they're national or regional, and even, exploring doing one-offs with whatever celebrities or influencers, like being able to like do collaborations with folks. We have a lot of cool avenues that we kind of are just getting started really in the marketing realm.
Yeah, it
We've
makes
talked about collabs with like snack brands, like
Yeah.
if we did a can or we went after co-space in a retailer, either playing off of like a name that we share or a mom water flavor that would complement another brand. So yeah, we've talked about some really fun ideas.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
makes
I
a
mean,
lot
we
of
had
sense.
Cheez-Its. Yeah.
Cheez-Its, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
With the dad water, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they actually reached out, like, on social, and, like, we did a little fun just a social media collab, like, it's really neat to see, our social drives a lot for us. We're a very social heavy brand, and it's because we just have an amazing team that just kills it every day, but a lot of these other brands that we perceive as, like, really big and really cool, look at us and go, "Oh, they're really cool." Like, it's kinda neat. The social they get with each other, and next thing you know, we're doing a collab with, Golden Bachelorette or Cheez-Its or something like that.
I love that. That's such a cool story too. See, you guys really are killing it. Um, outside, I had talked about in the past and didn't really get the answer. And I don't know if I'm digging down a ditch for you guys and you avoided it on purpose, or if I just talked so much you missed it. But I was curious if you ever did DTC in the beginning, or are you doing it currently and that was an afterthought?
Yeah, so we didn't in the beginning, and I think a lot of that just goes to, us learning our way around the 3 tiers. Even I mean, DTC obviously is complicated in that sense, and so we had to make sure we found the right partner that could do it compliantly, and I think there's probably brands and companies out there that are doing it non-compliantly without even realizing because it's so complicated, but having a company that could understand how to make sure that things are still going through 3 tiers behind the scenes, where for the customer, it feels very simple. I go on and I place an order and I look and you can ship it to my state and order shows up and I'm happy, right? But behind the scenes, it's so much more complicated than that. So it took us a while to get there. And obviously, like our marketing team, that was a big goal for them because they knew that with as popular as we are on social, they wanted a way to have that instant gratification. I find you on social, I follow you, I love your content, I go immediately to your website and I can order it and everybody's happy. But it took us a while to get to that point. And then obviously that grows then when you've got companies like, DoorDash now and Uber Eats and places that can do like the delivery piece that kind of tacks on to our chain retail space. So it's so much better than it was, but we did not know a lot in the beginning to do it.
Yeah, I ask because that's a big avenue for RTDs. Everybody loves a direct to consumer play, but it is a lot of, compliance that you have to go through. And yes, you're right. There are probably people out there that don't even realize. And listen, that's what we're trying to tell everybody who's listening, who maybe has a dream of coming out with a brand that maybe doesn't know the rules and regulations and is just going off, shooting off the hip. Um, the next thing that I had asked you guys about that I feel like, because I always say so much and we just like open a lot of tabs, was about the flavor profiles. You were coming up with unique flavors. I asked about the passion fruit. We talked about some flavor combinations that you guys were trying out because you felt like they were unique. Which can flavor is your favorite from Mom and Dad Water, Kara, and then your turn, Bryce?
So the problem for me is that mine's getting ready to launch.
Oh,
So I
well,
can't. I guess I'll answer out of our current portfolio though. I think Mary's like the unsung hero. It's not one that I feel like people necessarily look at the can and think apple melon sounds like it would be my favorite, but when you try it, it's got almost like a vanilla undertone. We compare it on our team to the taste of a Fun Dip stick, like the candy Fun Dip. It just has this really sweet vanilla flavor that I love. So I would say current flavors, Mary would be my pick, but we have a flavor getting ready to launch that is an easy, like it's going to be the best.
love that. That's who I'm drinking. I'm drinking Mary. She just has a nice little nightgown on right now, but she's in here. Voila.
So good.
All right,
Very
dad water flavor.
Dad water flavor, I think Rodney blood orange. Like you pop open the can and it smells like you cut into a fresh blood orange. Like that one to me is so spot on the flavor. So, yeah, I would say Rodney.
Love it. Bryce, your time to shine.
I'm gonna go with Carol, actually, as probably my favorite mom water flavor, the seasonal, cranberry lime. I drink a lot of them, and usually I'm drinking whatever Jill doesn't, because Jill's favorite is either Nancy or Linda. Those 2, like, flow through her veins. She loves those 2. Um, Dad water, I love them all. I'll be honest, like I go from one to the next. I think we got all the flavors really right. But if I had to pick one, I would say Gary, which is the pineapple jalapeno.
Yum.
It's my favorite.
Bryce had an entire pallet of Carol. Like we had it shipped to he and Jill's house the
Yeah.
first holiday season that we came out with it because he was so nuts about the flavor.
That's cool.
I vastly underestimated how many 104
Yeah,
cases of a beverage is. And by a
a lot.
case, for all the listeners, to make sure we clarify, that is 24 cans in a case
Mhm.
sitting in my garage. Yeah, it took me like a year and a half. I was like, at the end, I was like giving them away. I'm like, Jill's so mad that this is still in my garage. I mean, we had to have our local butcher shop. We had to have it delivered there because we needed a forklift to get off the truck. And then the forklift, he literally stacked it in the back of his pickup, brought it to our home. And then me and the kids and Jill, we unloaded all of them and stacked them in our garage.
Oh
But I had
my
plenty of
goodness.
Carol. So
That's hilarious.
yeah.
Listen, you know what? Like oversupply is not a bad thing all the time.
Yeah,
And you had gifts for everybody. I mean, you were probably the hit of the neighborhood.
exactly.
That's cool. Well, you already kind of let the cat out of the bag, Kara, that you have another flavor launching. Is it just a solo flavor? Is it a variety pack? What can you tell us? I don't post in real time. So, if you want to share, you can share. You guys are, your secret's safe with me.
When is it going to post? I'm just curious. I know.
So I usually edit all of these and I stockpile. So you guys could tell me to hold this for 4 months and I can hold it. So it's really up to you. You can trust me or not.
Oh, well,
I solemnly swear I won't tell.
then I say we go for it.
I say go
Sure.
for it. Then you get a cool clip out of it and you can do it when the time is right.
Okay, so I'll start with the first innovation, and I'll let Bryce share the second because it's way bigger. So on the mom water side, we're so pumped. We're launching our first 12 pack,
Nice.
and it's going to have Susan and Linda from the previous two 8 packs, but they're going to be joined by two new flavors, which are a cherry pineapple flavor
Ooh,
and then watermelon, which watermelon has been like a fan ask since early on. We've had people wanting watermelon. We just wanted to make sure that we got it right. I mean, there's a lot of different types of watermelon flavor. You can go very candy or you could go very like natural. And so we just wanted to nail it and we have. But the cherry pineapple, hands down, it's the best flavor we've ever done. Um, it's going to remind you of your childhood and your favorite drink pouch. Like it's just, it's so good, and there's such a fruit punchy kind of flavor in there. And so that one is Jackie.
nice.
And then our watermelon is Stacy, which we did a sweepstakes that we asked fans to submit videos and nominate somebody. So this one was naming a can after a fan, and Stacy was nominated by her daughter. And so that one's just kind of a fun like nod that they get to be honored on a can.
I love that. I have chills all over my arms. That is so cool. And thank you guys for trusting me and sharing me. I promise you, this will, whenever you tell me it's ready to post, I'll post. But how cool. And those flavors sound delicious.
Hmm.
Bryce, I
They
don't know how
are.
you're going to top that, but your sister's giving you the floor.
Well, I might be able to.
Yeah.
So that is technically not going to drop until you probably start to see that in March
Okay.
at some point, but probably starting to see a little bit earlier. And our big announcement is on February the 1st. But if you've been following our social media, we've been teasing a bunch of new innovation. And the teasing is we are bringing to the market an unsweetened vodka tea. So
Mm.
it will be our first real break from, we'll say, the alcoholic water, the spirit water category. It just feels like such a natural evolution. We kind of, we sat back and looked and said, okay, like teas are obviously popular and there's a lot of teas out there, but they all have the same thing, which is they're very heavy, they're very sweet. So if you like sweet tea, you've got plenty of options. I mean, you have options all over the place right now. But if you don't like sweet tea, but you still like tea, there's a lot of unsweet tea drinkers out in the market, and there's no product that we could find that really did anything with it. So we were like, will this work? And the answer is yes, it works so well. So in essence, what you're looking at is you're looking at a mom water with black tea extract. Um, like we and because that is one of the things I feel like is important about our brand in general. We're one of the only I don't know of any other brands, or might be some out there doing it, we put all of our ingredients on the back of our can, not just our serving facts. We literally list our ingredients on every can. You know what's in it. And so the ingredients go from 4 to 5. You're just adding that black tea extract. They are so good. So it is going to be in an 8 pack variety pack. There will be Jenny is classic tea, just classic unsweet tea. Katie is peach tea, Nikki is raspberry tea, and Lisa is strawberry tea. So those are the 4 flavors. We cannot wait to get those out because we're so jazzed about them because they're so good. They have a little more flavor. A lot of people like if you don't like for the people that like bigger flavor, that's usually the only people are like, I don't know if I like mom water or not, right?
Hmm.
The teas have more flavor because they in essence you taste the tea, so they taste like a very natural tea, and most people are like, oh my god, like you taste no alcohol. So super pumped.
Super
It's
pumped.
They're unbelievable.
That's
and I
exciting.
forgot the best part. It's called the best teas pack. Get it?
Oh my word. I
Yeah.
do get it. I love it. I'm so
What?
cheesy. You guys don't know. Now you're getting to know me, but I'm Mrs. Cheese. I love anything a little. You called it campy. I'm gonna steal that, Bryce.
There you go.
I think that's a little bit more elevated. But yeah, my mom was from Minnesota, man. She had a lot of cheesy one-liners. I talk about it. It's just in my DNA. So I'm on board. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Bestie sounds amazing. You guys, you're just killing it. Like I said, all this I'm digging. I love everything about mom water and dad water, and now the besties. That's going to be even better as a collection for the people out there, like you said, that aren't really water drinkers, or maybe they didn't like tequila or they didn't have enough flavor. Now you can be quiet because here's a version for you. My husband loves tea, so he's gonna have to try this. He's gonna be over the moon. That's his thing. He's an Arnold Palmer kind of guy, so very
We
excited to
are,
try.
yeah. And when you see the can designs and you see the way they look, marketing absolutely killed it with these. They've got their own feel, but yet they're still like super elegant. And like still keeping the gold tops. The finish is amazing. I don't know, like they're just and the whole campaign, I think, will be one of the best parts about it. We're owning the fact that we're unsweet.
Mm.
So it's a little bit, I won't say mean girl, but a little bit mean girl, right? So
Yeah.
you've got mom waters, this fun, wholesome, and our besties are like, we're unsweet, So it's got a little edge to it. It's gonna be awesome.
Amazing. You guys are so fun. I love you guys. Thanks for coming on my show. You're a fun duo. I look forward to following along with your journey. Like I said, I'll definitely be picking up these new besties when they're available in Florida. And thanks again for popping on Sippin' and Selling and just sharing your story. I always want to ask this question at the end of the show. I like to play a little bit of a game. Sometimes I ask things like, what's your next biggest step that you're looking forward to do? But I feel like you kind of shared that. But if there is like a chain or a location or venue that's a dream, put it out in the universe if you'd like. That's game number one.
Kara, do you got one?
I mean, I will say, like in Indiana, we like sponsors with the Pacers and with IU. It's a good time to be an IU sponsor, by the way, because that's where we both graduated from. And so, like, seeing them get into those arenas definitely is like a bit surreal. So, I guess for me, like thinking about like where would that next like big arena or iconic space be that you could like go and get a mom water. Maybe for me it would be like the Ryman. Like, like something in the Nashville country music, one of these iconic locations. So I'm going with the Ryman.
I like it. It makes sense.
I'll go a little bit different here. I'm going to go left field, but kind of going off Kara's. I feel like that the first time that Mom Water is somehow in a song, it means we've
Mm.
arrived, right? Like,
Mm.
you talk about beer and Jack and Coke and whatever. Like, I'm waiting for a pop or country music or whatever. I don't think metal will probably do that, but I'm waiting for that. I think that would be really cool. I always think like stuff like that is kind of neat, or like if I listen to podcasts like a Joe Rogan or something else, like it would be so cool to just to see it naturally like popping up. I geek out on that stuff. I think it's really cool just to see where our brand is and who enjoys it because we don't always know. Like a lot of people probably secretly drink it, but we won't know. So I
A
think
thousand
that'll be my
percent.
answer.
That's an
Yeah.
excellent answer, and I love that, and I know my producer Ben loves that because 'cause we're big musicians and we're into music, and that's super cool, and it kinda goes along with yours too, Kara. See, you guys are
Yeah.
not too far apart. So all you country stars out there that are listening to Sippin' and Sellin', put mom water or dad water in your lyrics. It's worth it. And if you want to give it a try, Bryce might be answering those emails still, and I'm sure maybe you could find his cell phone online if you really
Probably.
tried. Chat
Yeah.
GPT that, and maybe you can just get some samples and then write a song about it. Why not?
I'm in.
I listen. I'm a cheerleader. I'll try to make this happen. I'm super big in connecting people. Let me think about this and let me see who I could connect you with, and let's see what happens. Game
Yeah.
two. Game two. What is the one name you will not put on a can?
Oh, that's a trick question.
I have an
Um,
answer. I'm sure there's an answer out there that everybody is probably thinking about. They have all their own kind of mean girls that they don't want on the can, I'm sure. But I'm sure there's some answer because, like you said, maybe the obvious one is Jill for Bryce because his wife doesn't want it on there. But maybe there's someone else that you just are like, nah, that name's not going to work.
so I'm gonna be careful in how I answer, because mine's already on a can.
Hilarious. So it's Kathy with a
That's
C.
true.
It's Kathy with a C. She won't put Kathy with a C on the can.
Okay, good answer. You saved me.
Yeah, listen, I'm girl's girl.
Yeah, I can cheat a little bit and say Becky because we're not allowed to. Because fun fact, Sandy used to be Becky on the very first run. And then we
Wow.
got a cease and desist from a small seltzer company out of Arizona. It was like,
No
hey,
way.
we trademarked this name, and we're like, uh-oh, uh, darn.
Okay.
So
I'll take
we changed the name to Sandy. So we can't. I might have a few of those cans in my basement still, just keeping them as a fun like reminder.
Oh
But
my god, that's
uh,
so funny.
yeah,
See, but this is the part about the games on Sippin' and Selling because you get all these these little stories that maybe you never would have heard. Is there
exactly.
is there anything else you guys want to let my listeners know, or you want to leave a fun fact before we say goodbye?
Just for me, like to your point earlier about, do you take the risks in life? Do you go after the thing that's like in your head that doesn't seem to make any logical sense? I was the sister looking at it from the outside and going, what are they doing? Like, why take these big gambles? And I look back and see how my life has changed, my family's life has changed, our collective families' lives have changed. And now we have this team of 40 people that are some of the best people I've ever worked with in my whole career, people who feel like family. And I'm like, if Bryce and Jill had not gone after the dream, none of that would have happened. And so I think like the more you can do to encourage people to like just take the chance, do the gamble, take the risk. Yeah, it may not work out for you, but I don't think you're going to be sorry that you tried. That's been a big lesson learned for me that I don't know that I would have had the same ability to do it, and so they've changed the way that I look at like what I want out of life and the risk that I'm willing to take.
It's a beautiful answer.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll trail. I'll kind of, I guess, add on to that. For me, it's more or less just the making sure that the entire mom water community knows how much we appreciate them. When we got into this, it's funny. We're not super like I would say money hungry. We're not big ego. We try to stay very humble, authentic, genuine. And the thing that I think all of us appreciate the most are the hilarious emails, the hundreds of wedding invites that Jill and I get or that Mom Water gets, graduation, people thanking us at their college graduation for helping them get through. Um, those are the things that are the most important, like outside of what Kara mentioned, which is our Mom Water family, it is the group of the most incredible people you'll ever meet. And it shows in the work that we do and what our brand is. But the community is an extension of that. Like we tend to just, I guess, attract like really good people. Our brand does, like the people that are drinking it. They're some of the most genuine, authentic people you'll meet. We meet them all the time, thousands of people every event that we do, and it just never gets old. That's the stuff that keeps driving us to continue to do it. It's honestly not chasing a dollar. It's not chasing money. It's not chasing all of that. It's not chasing fame. it's legit just like being able to see smiles on people's faces and have them actually enjoying something that we, put a lot of effort into is the most rewarding thing that I think we get out of this.
Super special. Like I said, you guys, your story's worth telling. Thank you for sharing it with my listeners on Sippin and Selling. Kara Woosley, I said it right, I think, and Bryce Morrison, thank you so much again for being on Sippin and Selling. All the best to you guys. Can't wait to see what's next for the brands. And everybody out there, please follow them on social media. Sounds like they have a lot of cool things. And Bryce referenced Easter eggs for all you Swifties out there.
Thanks so much for having us, Joey.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sipping and Selling
With Joey Chanel.